people's mindsets are strong. Despite poverty, they are strong enough to stand up and be counted. For them, Gammatha has been a source of strength for over a decade. Gammatha, for the people, by the people.
Hello there, very good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime News on TV1 for the News First, where the people come first. I'm Martin Satyanesan. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for this afternoon.
Unit 3 at the Nurachole fails. Power cuts to be extended. Public Utility Commission of Sri Lanka to test quality of petrol and diesel. Japan ready to play a leading role with creditors to restructure Sri Lanka's debt. Port to a local government member arrested over Tamuttegama bank heist.
Now the stories in detail. Generator 3 at the Nurachole coal power plant has failed.
Sri Lanka's Minister of Power and Energy said that Unit 3 of the Nurachole power plant has been shut down due to a steam leak, and it is estimated that the maintenance work would take 3 to 5 days. He said that fuel power plants will be utilized to manage the power generation until the repair work is completed. Accordingly, only 300 megawatts of a total of 900 megawatts is being generated, as only one generator is active at the Nurachole power plant. The chairman of the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka warned that lengthy power cuts are expected in the future and the power cut schedule will be announced soon.
Sri Lanka's Power and Energy Minister says the country has advanced a payment for last year's fuel tender.
The Minister of Power and Energy says that the remaining cargoes from last year's coal tender has been advanced to fulfill the immediate requirements of Nurachole. Accordingly, the advance payment for the first cargo was completed yesterday. A long-term tender and a spot tender will be advertised this week for the full requirements.
In one of your headline-making stories, Sri Lanka has decided to test the quality of imported fuel.
The Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka announced that tests will be conducted to determine the quality of petrol and diesel in the country. PUCSL Chairman Janaka Ratnayaka said that samples are being obtained at present and noted that serious complaints have been received over the quality of fuel available in Sri Lanka.
A group including MP Mujibur Rahman visited the head office of the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation on Tuesday morning.
The group requested that they be provided with the details surrounding the issues on purchasing fuel under the provisions of the Right to Information Act.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe met with the Prime Minister of Singapore, Lee Hsien Loong, in Tokyo on Tuesday and stated that his priority was to bring into effect the free trade agreement with Singapore. During the discussions, President Ranil Wickremesinghe informed the Singaporean Prime Minister that an international trade office was being established in the President's office. Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong welcomed the news and stated that Singapore was looking forward to investing in Sri Lanka once again. Meanwhile, the President's media division stated that the President met and discussed with the Japanese Foreign Minister Yoshimasa Hayashi. Today, President Ranil Wickremesinghe will attend the funeral ceremony of former Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe. Japan is bidding farewell to former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who was killed while on the campaign trail in July, with a rare state funeral that has deeply split the nation.
Some 4,000 mourners are attending today's ceremony for Abe, who is Japan's longest-serving Prime Minister. The event began at 2 p.m. local time, with Japan's self-defense forces firing 19 shots in honor of the influential politician, and his wife, Aki Abe, carried his ashes into Tokyo's Nippon Budokan Hall. At a nearby park, thousands of Japanese people have been gathering since the morning to offer floral tributes to Abe. Meanwhile, protests against the funeral are also taking place in Tokyo. Demonstrators are citing the legitimacy of holding this as a state funeral, which is usually reserved for imperial family members.
Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe said that allowing a Chinese research vessel to dock at Hambantota port last month was a difficult decision. He was speaking to India's Strat Global News.
Hambantota is not a military harbour. We are not being giving it out for military purposes. This ship had been approved earlier, just as at the very end of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's tenure, and it had come in as a research ship. So that's how it had been okayed. We are inquiring into it, how this happened so fast.
Right.
Now we have said no objections. So once that had happened and I had taken over.
Right.
And if you were to if we were to change that decision, we needed some basis, something which now that if that had been forthcoming, you could have studied it and taken a decision.
Right.
But that was not available, and then we couldn't get into an argument which we are going to lose. We did delay its coming in here.
Right.
And then, of course, by that time the ship was virtually in our waters. It was a difficult decision,
Right.
but it was in keeping with our policy that once we give permission, that there must be some reason for us to withdraw permission. So that we could not find the reasons, we asked your government also, and they had virtually come up to the area, but they had said, what they said is that they are not going to do anything harmful to India.
Okay.
But that was in our waters.
Right.
Outside that, if they had this equipment and they wanted to spy on India, they could have done it.
Yes.
We could only assure that.
Yes.
As long as it didn't take place, and we are confident nothing took place like that.
Okay.
So this is what had happened. We had given permission on the science, so now we are looking at reclassifying civilian ships, non-military ships.
Right.
The problem is that any non-military ship can be used for military purpose. A cruise liner can be used to bring in troops.
How do you ensure that it doesn't get used?
That's what we are looking at now.
Right.
To work a new system out.
And did you have a very frank dialogue with India at that point in time?
Yes, we did. I told them this.
And they were finally understanding about it when...
yeah, I don't think they were happy, but they accepted the situation.
Okay. So are there any new protocols that you are sort of looking at? I mean, you said that you will now reclassify the ships, but
That's
with
what
India, how do you... I mean, India says that there should be some red lines, there should be some, assurance.
Our one is reclassification.
Right.
So we have to work that out. It's not an easy one.
Right.
And then any ships that come in the new classification, we would hold back.
Right.
And inquire into the matter. So what we have told India is that we will not do anything that will jeopardize the security of India. And so far Sri Lanka hasn't done. I mean, this government or the other governments.
Sure.
We haven't done that, and we are very, very careful.
I see.
The Chinese government handed over 8 state-of-the-art chronic kidney disease screening mobile labs worth 660 million rupees to the Ministry of Health on Monday.
Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Ki Zeng Hong, officially handed over the mobile laboratory buses to the Minister of Health, Dr. Kehelia Rambukwella, at the Colombo National Hospital. These fully equipped mobile laboratories of international standard are provided to regional health services directorates in Anuradhapura, Polonnaruwa, Vaunia, Ampara, Kurunegala, Trincomalee, Matale and Badulla districts. The facilities of these mobile vehicles are similar to the laboratory facilities of a basic hospital in Sri Lanka, and it is operated by electricity and equipped with generator facilities so that tests can be carried out in the absence of electricity as well as in areas without electricity. About 500 people can be tested daily using one screening vehicle, and kidney patients can be identified at the district level and local levels. Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Ki Zeng Hong, also handed over 650 million rupees worth of drugs sent to Sri Lanka by the Chinese government to the Minister of Health. It was received in Sri Lanka as the first batch of the second phase of the Chinese relief program worth 5 billion rupees. The donation includes 17 types of essential medicines, including vaccines to prevent rabies.
The United States Permanent Representative to the UN Food and Agriculture Agencies in Rome, Ambassador Cindy McCain, says support will be provided for food security and sustainable agriculture in Sri Lanka. She made these remarks during a meeting with Minister of Agriculture, Mahinda Amaravira.
The United States Permanent Representative to the UN Food and Agriculture Agencies in Rome, Ambassador Cindy McCain, met with Agriculture Minister Mahinda Amaravira at the Ministry of Agriculture that also saw the participation of US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Jolie Chung.
We focused our attention on the issue faced by the agriculture sector in our country. We made requests to provide a solution for our fertilizer issue, seed issue and other requirements. They clarified matters in regards to this in a positive manner. They noted they will have a discussion on Sri Lanka after they return to the US and will help Sri Lanka in every possible way to come out of this crisis.
සාකච්ඡාවක් ශ්‍රී ලංකාව වෙනුවෙන් සිදු කරන බවත් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවට අද ඇති වී තිබෙන තත්ත්වයෙන් ඉදිරියට ඒම සඳහා ඒ අයට හැකි උපරිම සහයෝගය ලබා දෙන බවත් ඔවුන් ප්‍රකාශ කරා.
Meanwhile, Ambassador Cindy McCain and US Ambassador Jolie Chung met with the Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Aruni Vijayawardena, yesterday. US Ambassador Jolie Chung noted that the USA will continue their support to strengthen the economy of Sri Lanka.
While the United States assured support for food security, journalists questioned the Minister of State for Women and Child Affairs, Geeta Kumarasinghe, about child malnutrition in Sri Lanka.
I'm just like you, I've heard of it. When you hear of something, you must inquire into it. I believe that all the children of this country are not malnourished, but there are cases reported from few areas. They must have been having a deficiency in nourishment. We need to take swift action regarding this.
The Government Ayurveda Medical Officers Association says the government must implement a plan to distribute food among all to counter malnutrition.
Goods purchased for 1,000 rupees now costs between 3,000 to 4,000 rupees. So as a result, if a certain group reduce the number of meals they take daily, it will directly result in malnutrition. If malnutrition becomes an issue in the country, the government and we should take the responsibility. There is no possibility of resolving malnutrition by expecting concessions. So the government must take measures to manage our resources. There should be a program where the food in the country is distributed amongst the citizens equally.
The President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, President's Council, Saleh Piris, has responded to the claims made by the Acting Defence Minister on seeking 6-hour prior approval for protests and demonstrations.
Responding to the Acting Minister of Defence, saying that the police should be notified and approval must be obtained from local police 6 hours before holding a protest, the President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka noted that it was not what the Supreme Court held in the case of Vivien Gunawardena versus Hector Pereira as per the judgment of Justice J.F.A. Zosa in 1983. He added, accordingly, there was no legal basis for Sub-Inspector Ganeshanandan's order to the processionists to disperse in the said matter in 1983. The President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, President's Council, Saleh Piris, said that the absence of a permit did not make the continuance of the procession an offence or any of the processionists liable to arrest. He added that under Article 11(1)(b) of the Constitution, the freedom of assembly is a fundamental right guaranteed to all citizens.
The IUSF expressed their stance in response to the statement of the Acting Defence Minister.
We can no longer protest as we used to. Wherever there is a protest, people are dispersed via assault. We cannot continue protests like this. When this happens, people cannot express their views and protest for their rights. The government is putting forward people with the Ranil Rajapaksa agenda. We couldn't care less about this. The Ranil Rajapaksas who came along preaching neoliberalism are now bringing an atmosphere where the people cannot express their views.
A complaint was filed with the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption regarding the deployment of police officers for peaceful protests.
The complaint was filed at the Anti-Suppression Committee, the Young Lawyers Association and the Sri Lanka Young Journalists Association.
Continuing with more local news, a Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna local government member was arrested over a 20 million rupees bank heist in Thambutegama.
Sri Lanka police said that a Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna local government member from the Rajangana Pradesha Sabha was arrested for aiding and abetting in the crime. The suspect is a 44-year-old resident from Rajangana. A Sri Lankan police officer has been hailed a hero after he valiantly stopped two men from making a getaway with over 20 million rupees. The money was being moved to a private bank in Thambutegama on Monday afternoon when two men on a motorcycle attempted to steal the money at gunpoint. The suspects were identified as residents from Thambutegama and one of them served as a security officer at the private bank in question. They attempted to steal 20 million rupees from a wholesale businessman based in Thambutegama.
Today marks World Tourism Day. On this occasion, the national celebration was held in Habarana today.
The theme of World Tourism Day 2022 is Rethinking Tourism. Sri Lanka is celebrating the World Tourism Day this year against a backdrop where the industry has been in severe crisis for several years. Today's national celebration was held in Habarana under the patronage of State Minister of Tourism, Diana Gamage.
Comparison to 2019, has helped rural community development.
In conjunction with the Tourism Day, a special train left from Fort Railway Station to Jaffna at 6:30 this morning with the aims of promoting tourism in Jaffna.
Rethinking tourism කියන තේමාව යටතේ
Under the theme of Rethinking Tourism, this awareness campaign is done to make us rethink and do something new for this tourism industry. We are doing this to develop concepts that can be used to develop the tourism industry. Jaffna is a place where we can promote.
අපිට ගොඩක් ප්‍රවර්ධනය කරන්න පුළුවන් තැනක්.
This program was organized by SLTC Research University.
In international news, Denmark has warned Nord Stream 2. The controversial gas pipeline from Russia has begun leaking in the Baltic Sea, endangering naval traffic.
It set up a prohibitive zone within 5 nautical miles of the pipeline near the Bornholm island. The Danish energy minister said it had acted after being informed about a pressure drop in the now defunct undersea pipeline earlier on Monday. Operating company Nord Stream 2 AG said the drop happened overnight. It said in a statement adding that it was investigating the matter. Quote, the Nord Stream 2 landfall dispatcher registered a rapid gas pressure drop on line A of the Nord Stream 2 natural gas pipeline, end quote. Nord Stream 2 has been built to deliver gas from Russia to Germany and other European nations, but the multi-billion euro project was halted after Russia invaded Ukraine in February.
From that, we bring to a close this edition of Lunchtime News on TV1. For details of these stories and much more, simply log on to our website www.newsfirst.lk. For the News First, where the people come first, I'm Martin Satyanesan. You take care and stay safe.
ඇත්ත කෙටියෙන් දත්ත වැඩියෙන් සයිබර් අවකාශයේ කළඹන වුවත් සලකුණ News First YouTube channelය අදම subscribe කරන්න. News First ජනතාව සමග